Hey, hey, what's really going on? Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. Today, going to be taking a look at XLM. Going to be taking a look at some of these key technical aspects of price action moving forward. Going to be assessing some of the pivotal areas of support and resistance I believe we're going to be interacting with in the very near future here. Are we bullish? Are we bearish? Let me know in the comments down below. Do you trade? Do you hold? Or do you let the price action unfold? Have we found support? Are we bullish enough to bounce off this level here, interact with some resistance ahead to return to that, 75 cent, almost 80 cent level that XLM came from some weeks ago? Or are we still bearish and we're heading down to some lower levels of support for this phase of accumulation to play out in the kind of more longer term? Let me know your thoughts on price action in the comments down below. Now jumping right into it to kind of recap price action that has been kind of very vertical and then sideways, as we can see. XLM likes to consolidate in a bearish manner from significant resistance near the swing high for tens of days, perhaps months, before kind of making its way upward again. And so we are still up quite a lot from the count of this time last year. And so, realistically, some downside, some pullbacks, I believe, is necessary for the trend to continue to the upside. In the long term, these kind of short-term pullbacks, these exposure to these lower levels, again, are very healthy, I believe, for the trend. And so, with price action that's currently playing out, we had some daily candles closing under significant resistance around 38 cents, confirming some more short-term downside. I believe we're bouncing off of what could be a very bullish kind of short-term target that could suggest that we can interact with that 38 cents resistance again. We can't be, I can be more long-term bullish, in my opinion, in the short term if we can start closing above 38 cents. But until then, I believe we're going to be trapped perhaps between significant lows of 24 cents and local resistance around 38 cents is going to be the range I believe we could kind of spend some time in for a period of weeks. Now, when we consider EngineeringRobo, along with the Fear and Greed Index, in addition to the Fibonacci Illuminati lines of geometry, symmetry, and alignments, we can see significant resistance around that 0.5 level, just above my 38 cent line. The 0.5 Fibonacci level at 41 cents is going to be another resistance point that I believe we're going to interact with upon surpassing 38 cents. So there is definitely significant resistance ahead as we do start to find our way upward. We are closing below that 200 daily moving average, which is going to be very significant technical sell pressure and a little bit of a big kind of bearish indicator there in the short term. Fundamentally, I believe we are quite bullish, though, in the long term. We do have potential support found around that 0.382 Fibonacci line at 32 cents. If price action were to hold that level, we can be kind of more short-term bullish and suspect interaction with that 38 cent level again. But with that 200 daily moving average being kind of just below that 38 cent level, I believe that's going to support resistance present at that level kind of thing. I believe there's going to be very significant sell pressure kind of near that 200 daily moving average under my 38 cent resistance. And then even when we surpass that, we have the 0.5 Fibonacci line at 41 cents that could send price action back down. If price action were to fail to hold that 0.382 level, I believe we could find our way to my 24 cent support line that we interacted with kind of between the 6th of January and the end of January there on the 28th. So that could be a very significant kind of bottom if we were to be bearish enough to come down to there. Although, like I said, if we can be more kind of short-term bullish, if we can hold the 0.382 Fibonacci line at 32 cents. We do have significant resistance. Like I said, up ahead above the 0.5 line is my 48 cent resistance line, just under the 0.618 Fibonacci line at 50 cents. And then we have the 0.786 line at 63 cents, just above that kind of upper zone at 60 cents. And so there's going to be, like I said, plenty of resistance kind of moving forward. I believe XLM is going to have to kind of support and resistance step its way kind of through these ranges and through these levels kind of over time. This recovery, while I'm still bullish long term, I do believe this recovery could takes perhaps weeks to months before we can see these kind of upper levels near kind of 80 cents that we came from. Again, I do believe interaction with that FOMO zone, I believe, is likely to occur before we can consider perhaps a longer term downtrend be forming. Although these are some very significant kind of rejections off of the FOMO zone. We've had kind of 1, 2, and then sort of 3. So rejection periods off of that upper kind of sell pressure there. And so, until I believe resistance found at a lower high relative to that kind of 78 cents, 80 cent kind of swing high there, until we can see resistance kind of at that lower high, I do believe we are still kind of in an uptrend long term. And so upon that rejection, will we consider a kind of a longer term downtrend. Price action being below that 200 daily moving average, though, is going to be very significant sell pressure, and I believe the fundamentals bullishness of XLM is going to have to be abundant enough to kind of hold against that. And so when we consider now XLM's price action against the price of Bitcoin, we can see a new perspective come into play with significant resistance found at the kind of 1207 to 1286 Satoshi level. We had several rejections off of it in the kind of 28th of November, again at the 13th of February. We interacted with it as resistance from like the 6th and 7th of May, broke through it to set some higher highs, kind of between like 13th of May all the way to the 17th there, where we interacted with more resistance at 1562 Satoshi. That brought us all the way back through that range, and we seem to be now interacting with this zone as resistance again, kind of upon returning to it between the 20th of May and the 1st of June. We've had kind of multiple rejections off of it, and now we are interacting with these kind of lower levels that we kind of were seeing kind of like not too long ago. And so I suspect a more bullish target would be kind of holding near kind of where we are currently, in my opinion. We could be very much bearish enough, though, to interact with that 751 Satoshi level, although I do believe we're looking to kind of hold out pretty sideways here. Although price action does seem to be interacting with kind of like lower highs and significant sell pressure at the moment, and so it means some wicks down to this 754 Satoshi level may not be impossible before the trend can continue upward, as that would still be a higher low, I believe, relative to price action on the 23rd of April of this year. But when we consider EngineeringRobo, along with the Fibba Bikini, Fibba Zucchini, Fibba Lamborghini lines of martinis, we can see new perspective come into play with that 0.382 line, the 200 daily moving average, and the 0.5 Fibonacci level, suggesting a kind of key range, I believe, is going to be quite pivotal for price action moving forward. And we could very much bounce in between this kind of zone here. The 0.5 Fibonacci line at 990 Satoshi is going to be significant local resistance, I believe, in my opinion. And if we start to kind of fall below that 200 daily moving average, which we just seem to be slightly below kind of currently, we can make our way to that 0.382 line at 839 Satoshi, and then failure to hold that will bring us down to my support at 753. The 0.618 is going to be resistance as well around 1134 Satoshi, and so even when we break the 0.5 level, the 0.618 line is going to be a very significant kind of sell point. Between the 0.618 line and I believe between the 0.786 is going to be a kind of like larger range of very significant resistance that I believe we're going to have significant momentum built up to kind of break through, kind of like similar to that break upward that we had kind of from kind of like the 6th of May to the 16th there when we were setting those higher highs. I believe there's going to be plenty of resistance between 0.618, 1138 Satoshi, all the way up to 1348 Satoshi at the 0.786 line. So there's lots going on for XLM at the moment. We do have that sell for and hell against the price of Bitcoin, suggesting some perhaps midterm kind of like bearish price action, and interaction with that 200 daily moving average is going to be very pivotal for the trend long term, in my opinion. Ultimately, I can still think we're bullish long term in the kind of like very long term fundamentally, although some sell off might be kind of still necessary, and XLM might take its time. It might take enough time, as much time as it needs before it can kind of like continue to rally again. But when we consider Bitcoin against USDT, we can see a new perspective come into play when we consider interaction with that 0.5 Fibonacci line. It's going to be very significant support if we do end up holding, although price action is looking to be exhausting at a kind of relatively very significant local resistance point, kind of between 39K and appears to be all the way up to 40K, like 40,700, which is still below my very significant resistance. I believe that's going to be around 41,000, and that 200 daily moving average, wherever it might be. And so if price action fails, I believe, to break this, appears to be kind of like this lower high. If we do print a lower high and we fail to break this 39K level, price action could find its way back down to perhaps 37K to find support at a higher low relative to that 0.5 Fibonacci line. Although we could very well be bearish enough to make our way back down to it, even if price action were to come up to that 0.618 line still. Ultimately, this is going to be the range I believe we're going to be trapped in, and until we can come out of that 41,500 resistance and confirm it as support, I do believe we are going to be trapped kind of under it, and kind of until then we're going to be quite short-term bearish, short-term sideways for a period of time. 32K does seem to be a very nice bottom. These wicks off of it were, we're very healthy. Very nice support found just above kind of 30,000 there. My bearish target was still 27K, and that is still not impossible. That 0.382 Fibonacci line at 27,100 is not, is not impossible for price action to kind of make its way down to, and we can still even be long-term bullish, even if we do find a way down there. Although this very crazy, what appears to be kind of like almost month of accumulation below that 200 daily moving average is, it's been a very FUD-filled month, and so ultimately, I believe this could play out for perhaps another month, a few weeks, or even a month or 3, even if it nearly needs to, before we can become bullish again. I believe a recovery, very quick recovery, would occur over the next kind of coming days here upon support found at that 0.5 Fibonacci line. If that does play out to be support, that will be very bullish short term and could bring us kind of above that 41,500 line. Although, like I keep saying, I believe that's going to be very, very significant resistance, and price action is going to have to be very bullish to kind of break it. And so I won't be short-term bullish again until we can kind of start closing above that level. Until I can see that those closes above the 0.618, I believe we're going to be having some very volatile fluctuations, multi-$1,000 ups and downs between 34K and 41K. Super sell and sell 4 still in play. EngineeringRobo still is looking kind of bearish at the moment. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you for hearing my analysis. Try EngineeringRobo free with a link in the description. Subscribe here on YouTube. Let me know your thoughts on price action. Do you trade? Do you hold? Are you diamond hands through this crazy FUD-filled month that we've had? Are you bullish? Do you think that we're going to break resistance at the 200 daily moving average and the 0.618 line, or are we headed back down to these lows here? And there's going to be some more prolonged phase of accumulation. Thank you for tuning in, and tune in for the next one.